I would request Professor N.L. Mitra sir, former Vice Chancellor of National Law University and guest of honor of today's conference, to enlighten us with his graceful words.
Good morning to all of you. I don't have a key for anything for anybody. I have a key only to myself. So with that key, I can only open my locker. I can't open your locker. So to me, the key was always think. So the first day when we entered into National Law School, on every blackboard, at that time there was blackboard, no whiteboard, no electronic board, only white blackboard. On the whiteboard, on a piece of paper, I wrote beautifully with an artist, think. You enter into the class, you think. And think therefore is the key. And the key is key for yourself. With that key, think, I'm going to tell you a few words, not many, because I want to give you back 30 minutes time from my schedule. I want to give you back 30 minutes time because I've seen many of the vice chancellors, many of the younger people, many of the anups, they wanted to speak something. And I am the bygone generation, the generation going out. Having seen 63 years in legal education, not only legal education, my whole career was a mix. I started with geography, then I moved to cost accountancy, management science, commerce. Finally, I landed up law and stayed in law in the university for a longer time. So, I want to give you back 30 minutes time because you are eager to speak many things. Many things like 1, 2 things I have already seen. I'll raise that issue. Some of the issues that I actually wanted to raise today is, number one, there is complete vacancy of policy on legal education. Legal education, if you think legal education is everywhere. There is a medical college here, down right on your nose, and you have a law school here. There is no marriage between medical school and the law school so far. But you all know a chunk of problems coming from medical science, and lawyers have nothing to do with that. And if the lawyers have to do something with that, they do not have any idea about medical education. So we are living in actually own paradise. Legal education doesn't have any policy. Every university must have a policy of its own. Now, to start with that, let me see back. National Commission on Education 2020, NEP 2020, what they say about legal education. They have very little to say legal education. One of the distinct factors of this Education Commission is that before that, this present legal NEP 2020, no other Education Commission spared any sentence for legal education. This is the first time that somebody has thought about legal education, though they started with saying that two professional education, legal education and medicine education, they do not want to cover. But still, they have spared 2 paragraphs. The first paragraph is that legal education, they think, is a multidisciplinary education. Legal education is a multidisciplinary education. It cannot be legal education as such only in languages. Today, we teach only language because our colonial system, We always accuse colonial system of legal education is a colonial system. What is that colonial system? Colonial system is that legal education is only legal languages, nothing else. And if it is education, legal education by any chance, then the best legal education can be given by English teachers, not like people like us. So you have to be a legal education. Legal education must have two things. One, matters of fact. Education on matters of fact. And the second education is matters of law. That's why it is said multidisciplinary. Education Commission says education like legal education must be multidisciplinary. And it says it must be evidence-based. It must be evidence-based. That means that if you do not study matters of fact, there is no matters of law at all. It's as simple as this. Legal education, matters of fact is not there, matters of law is also not there. Because law is everywhere. Legal education at the lowest level is a vocational education. British has started vocational education only here. Like muftis, like vakils, muktiyas, they are only vocational education, skill education, multi-skill education, multi-skill language education. That was the education at the lowest level, and we in the modern sense call it legal education is a what type of education? We say is a vocational education, and it is a clinical legal education. We have taken medical terms, clinical, without knowing what is clinic. Now go to the law court, see the clinic. Law court is the court, is our hospital. They go to the hospital, we go to law courts. In the law courts there are many players. Who are the players? Who are the players? Are we aware? Judges, of course we see. Lawyers also we see arguing, but there are a lot of lawyers who do not argue at all. They go to the court, loiter, here and there, everywhere, but you have not seen them practicing in the court or standing in the court and arguing. You have not seen them. And if there are 100 lawyers, if you see in the court, you will at least 70 lawyers only go between. They do not argue in the court. And we have no program for them. There are a lot of munsis, clerks, peons. They do a lot of legal work. There is no training system, no vocational course, no school, law school has taught for them. So at the ground level, this is the position. We do not know them. Your law schools, we don't know them. We only know lawyer and a judge. But the fellow who is sitting there as a munsi in the corner and writing dalil, he is writing in his own handwriting. We have no program for them. And most of our documents are prepared by those people who do not have any education. See the position of the whole law thing. And you say that we want to have a good law school. Good law school doesn't have a data. Now if you have to have good law school, you must have data of entire functionaries in the hospital called clinic. Do you have? Do you have that program? No. Not at all. Nobody thinks about that. Nobody thinks about PIMS. So when I entered into first, in stock exchanges, because the government of India wanted the stock exchanges, which actually is the heart of the monetary systems of the country, how they function. So I ridiculed by saying stock exchanges are exchanges by the people, by the broker, for the broker and of the broker. There is nobody, it is not for us. It is only for brokers. And there is no law for the brokers. Interesting. But you go to New York Stock Exchange, how many of you know that New York Stock Exchange is the seven biggest broking firms, second biggest broking firm, out of seven, 5 are people by IIT graduates from India. And they call it financial architecture, financial engineering. And we do not have system for them. Similarly, the moment I enter into legal education regulator, we call it regulator. Who is the regulator? Bar Council of India. Is Bar Council of India a regulator? If you read section 7 of the Bar Council Advocates Act, looks to be that there was an idea that there must be one central body of the professionals, by the professionals, for the professionals, called Bar Council of India. So it is not a regulator. It is of them, for them, by them. It is not regulating. It is not a regulator. It cannot be independent. If I am the regulator and I am also the teacher, I have a conflict of interest. Naturally, it is not a regulator. So, second level of legal education, if we just get into, called lawyering, I had a lot of problems in National Law School when we started National Law School, and we raised our fees. Our fee at that time was 25,000 per annum. So Professor Menon argued with me, 25,000 per annum, who will give? We will not have students. I said, no sir, let us try. Otherwise we are not surviving, because we are not state university, we are not central university. What type of animal are we? Even now also, many of the national law schools are either not state university, not even central university, and therefore nobody bothers about that. So what is the regulator? If it is by the profession, for the profession, and of the profession, they cannot regulate. They are interested, self-interested parties. Now say for example, Bar Council of India has established one university there sitting in the Vice Chancellor. How can Bar Council of India then now regulate that same university? Can they regulate? They have a conflict of interest. So naturally when I read, I find that there are a lot of issues where Bar Council of India members and Bar Council of functionaries are all interested. I, in my Bar Council incarnation, wanted to make Bar Council really a regulator. Anyway, that's a separate thing. So when we go to second stage, legal education is for lawyers. History is for historians, mathematics for mathematicians, law for lawyers, very easy. Law for lawyers. So when we had Banaras Hindu University legal education, the policy was law for lawyers. Where is social engineering? Social engineers, your Constitution of India says that India shall give holistic justice. Justice, social, economic and political. Your law schools, very lamentably the fag end of my life, I consider that I failed. What failed? I could come to the conclusion that a law school cannot be a justice school. A law school cannot be a justice school. Because to be a justice school, you have to master both matters of fact and matters of law. I understood that in my career because I was the person who was sent to Gujarat after Gujarat episode on earthquake. And Justice Krishna Iyer asked me to go and collect evidences. I went there. I was the director of a national law school. I went to Gujarat, Ahmedabad for collecting evidences to justify whether it is accidental demolition of big buildings or it is only your own man-made disaster. When I went there to collect evidences, what evidences? What is evidence? To you and me, we are legal scholars, we do not have anything to do with architectural engineering, or even we do not know about civil engineering or mechanical engineering. What is evidence to us? So I was collecting bricks and mortars. To me, it's thought to be an evidence, because people generally what we feel, that 1 inch of concrete is done with 6:1, 4:1, 3:1, 10:1 sand and cement ratios. Therefore, it collapses. The moment I landed there and wanted to collect evidences, there was a small news in the first page of every newspaper that Professor N.L. Mitra from National Law School has come to collect evidences to justify whether the loss is loss of earthquake or it is a loss by human error or human made instantaneously. So it is a tort case, constitutional tort. So when I was collecting evidences, a person came to me and said, "Sir, why you are collecting this?" I said, I saw a 7-story building completely collapsed, constructed in 1991. And by the side there is a 6-story building completely untouched, 1961 construction. What gives you? So I wanted to collect evidences. He said, "Sir, this is not the evidence. Evidence is, see the corner, there are stills. There are different types of stills, you know, sir." I said, "I don't know. I'm a lawyer. I'm not conversant with types of lawyering, types of steel." He says, "Sir, this type of steel is called torrent steel. See that steel, torrent steel." Anyway, long discourse. I had to collect those pieces of torrent steel, rolling steel. Now, I started becoming learning steel. So back home, I had to study steel, books on steel engineering, steel. And then I understood, oh my good God, I am not producing any lawyer in the country who knows about steel industry. I am not producing any lawyer in the country who understands construction engineering at all. I had the second evidence. There was an Enron case going on between India and US. Indian company was represented by lawyers, Indian lawyers, I think Amarchand Mangalas. And American company came in White and case. American companies, I find, people are electrical engineers turned into lawyers. See that combination, electrical engineers and lawyers. And my lawyers, BLLB. So where is matters of fact education? With BLLB, you are trying to understand what is the scene, which of the geomorphological order you have the petrol slicks. Do you know that? No. Because we do not know anything about geomorphology, or geostructuring. So I found, oh my good God, there is a lot of lacking. This side of the law faculty, in case of Amarchand Mangalas, we find one of my junior second batch law graduates from NLSIU. He was the junior most lawyer in that team of Amarchand Mangalas. The other side, I found my first batch from National Law School. See that is the third year happening, only third year. On that other side, there is one National Law School student who is representing White and case. Junior most, but most of the talking was done by these two people. I had a hope that though in National Law School we did not produce petroleum industrial engineers, but still our people can talk. Now same thing happened when there was a pipeline to be laid from Baku to Porbandar. A pipeline has to be laid all through, and it will come through Pakistan as well. There was no lawyer in the country who can draft that agreement at all, because the technological volume Indian lawyers could not understand. So Indian lawyers are hired from England, and we say we are failing. We do not have petroleum lawyers. We do not have construction lawyers. We do not have petroleum. We do not have lawyers. Today, if there is a sports deficiency, say drugs used in sports, India doesn't have lawyer. And we say we are good law schools, And you have a law school here and medical school here. Right? You do not have health law education at all. See the situation. The country doesn't have health law here. When I had to go to WTO team for negotiations at various forums with the government, I understood that US is coming with a brand of 300 lawyers in trade negotiations, in intellectual property negotiations, and India goes with 5 people. 2 of them are bureaucrats, IAS, 2 of them are IFS, 1 minister. Where is lawyer? And the countries are negotiating. Negotiating table is full of lawyers. Mind it. You from law, from this desk, from Banaras Hindu University students, you have to sometimes go there. But India doesn't have lawyers. Lawyers to negotiate. India doesn't have a team. So I came back, I submitted a report and established the first chair on WTO in the law school. My dream did not succeed because it did not succeed at third level of education. In third level of education, if you go to second generation education, you go for subject-wise understanding, multidisciplinary. If I am in Delhi Law School and one in Bangalore Law School, do you think that their academic program should be same? Their academic program should not be same at all. At all. Now at one point of time, Calcutta used to play a great role on Admiralty Court. Today there is none. No Subrata Bhattacharya. Subrata Rai Chaudhuri is not there. This is the position, Indian position. Those days you had Subrata Rai Chaudhuri, who was even talked about to become a first judge of from India to the world body, world court, but he could not because he was not from government. All other judges, they come from your profession, academic profession, practicing profession, but they come from, Indian judges come from either judiciary or executive. So law, what is the rule of law? When you say the crux of the rule of law is the administration, you go to CIAS, not even 5% are from law graduate. Not even 5%. National Law School people do not appear for laws, IAS. Why they do not? Because they are not motivated. They are not in administrative rules and regulations. So even where there is a public policy, you find lawyers are not there. NGOs work, you know, World Bank and IMF, they have a prescribed rule that 60% of the government budget should be spent through NGOs. Where are NGOs? Dollar-driven NGOs in India, there are some. But NGOs really are worth, where are they? So public policy, NGO governance, social justice, social engineering. We talk about social engineers. Law is a social engineering instrument. Where is social engineering? Now, this is the first time that Education Commission says that it is to be multidisciplinary. Therefore, just don't study law here. Morning yesterday only, today only in the morning, I asked one of your students, he is a 5th year student, I said, what is your subject? He said, intellectual property. Intellectual property, very great. But if you go to US, they will not allow you to study patent right. He said, sir, why? I said, because you do not have science background at all. Go to US, intellectual property lawyers. I have a lot of students in the intellectual property side because I championed the intellectual property in India initially. Me and Maselkar. These are the 2 pillars to fight. Now, we found that Haldi Chuna has been patented there. Basmati has been patented there in America. We had to fight, go there, fight. Fight. How? How do we fight? What is the argument? Where are the evidences? So when American court said, give us your evidence, you said, Vedanta, show us the evidence. Haldi Chuna has been your grandparents, you said, technology, show the evidence. We had a great, terrific, system of. So I came back, I tried to understand that intellectual property education should be strengthened. I started intellectual property with BSc. Behold, students do not want BSc because parents, they think that if you do not know mathematics, then if you are weak in mathematics, you study law. There are a lot of mathematics. Today, when I started working in financial fraud, preparing government for Government of India to deal with financial fraud is not an offense. You understand? Because it was not required in the colonial country, because we are colonies only. Fraud has to happen in India by the Britishers. So financial fraud is not an offense in India. Financial fraud was an offense in England. So all that, this shows that our education is not evidence-based, our education is not multidisciplinary, legal education therefore missing, we say all stakeholders stop. If you see the stop, they are not within the parameter of law in India. Top. Bottom, they are not considered as a lawyer. PIMS are not lawyers. They have no education. They have no lawyers, no education. Mukhtiar, there is no place, but they are still there in the court. So what is this law school? And you say, primary level you have clinical legal education. Clinic, what is that clinic? You do not know your player, you do not have a program for them, and you say clinic. Right? So I started trying to give a shape and say education, legal education must be multidisciplinary. Legal education, 5 year, 3 year. Is it a debate, 5 year versus 3 year? Why we started 5 year? What was the policy there? 5 year law school should be there. Why? Because for law education, even 5 year law course, if you open, only 3 years for law. More than 3 years is not needed anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world, more than 3 years not needed. Why we wanted 5 years then? You can accuse me. You are taking 2 years of life of the students. Why? We wanted to catch them young. We wanted to catch them young. If engineers can take it after higher secondary, medicine can take after higher secondary, why law school shall not take from higher secondary, after higher secondary? Catch them young so that you can also have domination on brain. Otherwise, law education was for whom? Those who cannot study mathematics, no philosophy. Okay, you cannot even get admission in philosophy or mathematics or sociology or then you go to law. Everybody discarded, they used to come to law school. So it was a dumping ground, and political dumping ground, by the way, because law is a strong instrument of public policy and politics. Governance. Law is closely related to governance. Are we producing governance? People competent to govern? No. Why? Because subjects are not known to us. We are law school. We do not know anything with economics. No economics, no law. Justice Frank Carter said, if a lawyer comes and says, I do not know economics, he is a social nuisance. Completely a social nuisance. Your constitution also says that. You require first justice. Economic, social, political. If I have to study law, I have to equally emphasis on economics, sociology, and political instrumentations, political science. This makes a policy science. Law becomes now policy science. So we do not have a program for policy science. We have a master degree LLM. Why master degree in LLM? Why not a public policy? Master degree in public policy. Why not you expand your program? Why not have executive programs for lawyers? Master degree in trade science. I started a course called MBL, Master Degree in Business Law. Lawyers are not needed. So somebody told me, Bar Council. I said, I do not care for Bar Council. When I started at that time, I did not care for Bar Council. I did not care for anybody. I only cared for market, whether my students can get a job. Now, if earlier I thought, so if I produce philosophers, law education is a philosophy education. Paravidya, paravidya. Paravidya is a professional education. Paravidya is a philosophy education. Law gives in Vedantic philosophy. Is it my cup of tea? I must have a philosopher in my department. Isn't it? But we do not have, we say jurisprudence. What is jurisprudence? A few, half a dozen or 1 dozen Latin words and half a dozen, Roman words. That makes your jurisprudence. Absolutely false. We call it justice education in judges. Judiciary gives a justice. Now they take only these 4 or 5 idioms. Idi alterum partem, ibi jus ibi remedium. Okay? This type of, foreign, uncustomary sentences so that you can show to your client, oh, I am using this language, see that for you, give me more fees. But where is economic justice? Until Justice Krishnaiyer or Justice Bhagavati loomed in our horizon, judicial horizon, judiciary did not bother about that. Upendra Bakshi wrote Politics on Indian Judiciary, Politics of the Supreme Court of India. And he found that judges of the Supreme Court had a tendency to give decision in favor of Zamindars. So, this is the judiciary, judicial decision, justice. This is justice. This is not justice. To read about justice, concomitant of public policies must be understood thoroughly, more than your language. I always say, every word that you use, not only there is sound, of course there is unsound also, not only there is sound, there is a soul, there is a self. There is a soul self contradiction always. That whatever you speak is not what you mean. Friends, 1 or 2 words about evaluation and then I sit. Examination. We will discuss about examination. I always used to say in National Law School, Bangalore, and then thereafter also, I experimented that also. So I experimented in National Law School. My question paper would be uploaded 7 days early. So question paper leakage doesn't come. Question paper itself is uploaded 7 days earlier. And then you answer, you have the option. You can come to the examination hall and then read the whole thing, damn thing, and upload. Okay? But one question you have to answer for 7 days through your personal research. You can, when sitting in the examination hall, I introduce the last stage. You can take advice. For senior students, you can take advice. So senior students can advise the junior students in the examination hall itself, but going out of the examination hall, use yours and come back and write. So my test was what? Time. I draw you out of the examination hall, and then when you come back, you cannot write. So test was time. So what is I am going to test? I only know because I am the teacher. There is no controller of examination in Oxford. So I used to always say, had I had a small atom bomb, I would have dropped into the examination controller department in the university. Should be banished. Examination is to be recasted completely. It's known as measurement, evaluation, and assessment. You measure what is the information that you have passed to your students and how much they can remember. That's called measurement. Munish Raja told in his book on examination, Munish Raja was the vice chairman of the UGC at one point of time. He was a psychologist. He wrote about that. So there's something called measurement. MCQs, measurement is through MCQs, but MCQs cannot be more than 15 to 18% of your total question paper. The second part of question paper is called evaluation. How much of the law you can really use for your advisory notes or defend or prosecute, right? How much of that note you can use? That's called application orientation, and that's called evaluation. I evaluate how much of knowledge. Take all books, you go anywhere and sit down and write. Take books, take your cell phone, take your laptop, everything in the examination hall, available. University will not give, you have to take. And finally, assessing your personality. Assessing what values you have. What values you have. If you are an innovator, you have the option of innovation, more innovation, and more profit of the earlier innovation. Which option you take? Why? We assess your personality development, called values education development. Law is value also. My friend, Anup has mentioned many things on which you have to discuss. And if I go on talking, I will not fulfill my promise. I promise that I will give back you half an hour time. I am sorry for that. I have to give back the time, otherwise you cannot actually complete your own job. So I give back your 30 minutes time. Thank you very much.